So, okay, this is the one we're going to do today. I've been playing a little bit of Dark Souls, so you can guess where this got inspired from. It's basically we're going to see, of course, how to make bricks. I'm pretty sure you are familiar with videos about how to make bricks. Everybody makes bricks. Okay, it's like the go-to. We're also going to add, again, we're going to play with some heights and shapes and all that, and we're going to see how we're going to blend everything together, and we're also going to do some lovely stuff with the microsurface and the coloring. Okay, especially I believe for the columns it came out really nice. We are now on OpenGL tessellation. Okay, and we have the scale of 0.03. Let's see some more also IRA renders, because I am recording, so I'm not going to turn IRA on right now. Some closer endings, of course you can see them in the ArtStation post. Check the links in the description below. And of course, to download the Substance so you can follow along, okay, go to my Patreon page. You can find it in the description below, of course, and go to posts, and it should be the very first one we have. Obviously it's not posted yet since I'm now recording it, and you can just download it from over here. And also, if you like what we're doing, of course, then feel free to pledge and support me on Patreon. So let's go back. Let me refix my UI. So fix it like that. Let's like this one over here so we can see both. And here we are. Now I'm going to also lower the 4K resolution, since it's a bit too much while recording also. So let's wait a little bit till it loads. Okay, we are now at 1K resolution. Keep in mind we're going to lose some details. So let's see the shapes we're going to have. Obviously we have the bricks, which we're going to refer to as the background. We're going to have the arc or arch, or however you call that, the columns, and the columns, the stuff that goes over the columns, the column ends, I don't know, call them whatever you like. And of course we're going to also add a bottom, just because it looks nice while looking at it this way. However, okay, just keep in mind you're going to get this line, because we are basically in tessellation. That's why we get this line over here, and we're also not tiling. But if we tile it, you can see that we're still going to get the line, obviously, because as I said, we are on tessellation. If we change this to parallax, whoops, okay, it won't show. Obviously we need to fix the scale accordingly, although it's going to show also, so you can make another shape for the bottom. So ignore that. Let's fix the scale. Okay, because the scale is way too big, as you can see, and to work with such a big scale, I'm also going to set the tiling to 1. We need to be very careful on its we need to be very careful with our heights anyway, but it's kind of makes it a little bit way too harder, to be honest, for anyone to care. We can also go with 0.2. Now enough with the settings. Okay, we talked about the shapes, let's actually see them, and you can see that even though it looks more, that it has way more going to it, it's actually one of the very basic materials we're going to see. So, the arc, we're going to start with splatter circular. You can add an input image directly, but I think it works just fine this way too. So we're going to keep it like this. Now, okay, number 25, radius, you can pretty much set it up the way you want. Radius random, it's going to give it a little bit more shape. Okay, pattern brick, pattern specific, because I like, the gradation it has. It gives it a bit more smooth, smooth separation from the background. You can change the pattern size. You can pretty much change the pattern size so that it looks like each one goes towards the center, because in an arc it's usually that way. And what I also did is that pattern pivot is set to min instead of center. Blending mode to max, otherwise you're going to have this. Okay, although it doesn't look that bad. You can do something with it. But yeah, let's keep it with max. Okay, luminance random and luminance by scale. And of course, center orientation. Now, with transformation 2D, I'm going to take this and expand it. Basically, we need an expansion on horizontal. We can have a little bit of vertical, but if we go too much, then we're going to clip the design and it's going to show. Although, yeah, I guess in the end it doesn't look that bad, but notice that we're still missing half of our design. I'm going to have some more, and actually that way isn't that bad. Yeah, let's keep it this way, why not? Okay, with the levels we play a little bit and conform all the all the stuff, because we are using transformation 2D. We conform it a little bit. With transformation 2D and tiling mode only on horizontal tiling, we're going to fix it and we're going to eyeball it to place it like it shows almost at, I think it's actually the center. Okay, but we're going to fix it, and we pretty much want this, we want the edges to look, so I think it's actually the center. So you can go over here and change both height and width, and you'll be directly at the center. So we have our design and the pattern the way we want it to look. So we're going to cut it at this point. So we're going to use just a black color. Okay, change the resolution 16 by 16 because there's no point having greater resolution over here, and of course change this to relative to parent. Okay, now the way we're going to cut it is, of course, we're going to create a shape. We actually do not even need to have a shape over here, although I'm not going to change it now because I will have to, because this one is a little bit smaller, although there is no point in this. Actually, let's change it over here. Okay, instead of the shape, we can just use a uniform color, and we're going to remove the tiling, and it's going to essentially do the same thing, but I'm guessing it does it it's a little bit less performance wise, it's a little bit less intensive. Okay, let's make sure we've got it at the right place, and I think it's enough. Okay, we are basically looking for this to go over the edge where the end of the column is. And yeah, we should also change relative to parent, and this should be absolute to 16 by 16. Now, we have cut essentially our shape. Notice that because we've used a color, we also have a little bit of gradation over here. We can work with this, but if you do not like it, like in the final one, it doesn't really show, except for this cut over here, but it doesn't look that ugly. Yeah, let's make it a little bit higher. Yeah, it kind of looks a little bit protruding, to be honest. Although if we lower it, because we have everything else on top of it, it won't even show that bad. Anyway, let's keep it like that. If we want to get rid of it, we can simply add the levels over here and the other way, or the other way. Okay, and it's going to cut it accordingly. And what I did is okay. So moving on, we're going to add slow blur grayscale, pale noise zoom. Okay, with meaning we start chipping away into our pattern, and then we have, with a blend node, we're going to use, because this is too extreme in some cases, we're going to use simply min darken over our basic arts, so we have more fluid movement. Now we're going to use a blur node to make it even more smoother, even though we're getting a few artifacts, but it doesn't matter, they won't show in the end. And we have a levels node, so we can form a bit the height. So with this level node we basically control the height, and we're going to use a height blend, which is going to go and blend over our bricks in this case. So what we can also do with the blur, if we add blur, let's say 1, of course it's going to mess everything together. And if we even add even more blur, yeah, it's going to vanish it. But if we add some substantially lower blur, you can see that you get a whole different design. And the first time I saw this, I thought that this could also be a branch or something. So, you know, keep that in mind, that if you want to make this into wooden instead of a stone arc, you can simply do it this way, and it gets like a design or something. Now let's set it back up to 0.1 and let's continue. So we have a stone arc, we have our height blend with the bricks. Now we need to see our bricks. For the tile bricks, okay, tile generator, pretty much set up the values you want. There's nothing special with this. Give it a little bit of free rotation random. Change the luminosity. Okay, pattern specific, change it to what you want. Change the luminosity variation and all that, so we have you know, more interesting shapes. We're going to use again slow blur grayscale with pale noise zoom. You can see that this one now is very intense, so again we're going to use min darken on top of our first pattern, so we're getting this. There is some slight variation on the shapes. Of course this will show more thoroughly in the final one, and we're also on 1K resolution obviously. So we're going to use levels node, and we're going to kind of conform a little bit again our height, because we're going to use a histogram range, and that will crunch everything. And we're also going to blend with a uniform color, and depending what we are passing on the uniform color is what we're going to have on the background. So if we add all black, then that means our bricks are going to be way more outside. And if we're going all white, then that means we do not have bricks anymore. We'll pretty much make this an engraving instead of, I don't know, outgraving. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is also a nice trick. if you want to do some catacombs or whatever, like, just look at this. Okay, it's almost an entirely new substance material. Now, if I was smart, I will just take this and say I made 2 videos. Okay, but yeah. So I'm going to set this, let's say something like 23. Of course, you can set whatever you want over here. It won't matter. And we have our bricks. Okay, we're blending them with height blend, so we have our bricks and our arts. Obviously, the arts needs to sit on something, so we're going to create columns. For the columns, we're going to start with a shape, a capsule, rotated 90 degrees, pattern specific at 1, scale at 1. I think it works just fine. Histogram scan, so we get this, so it's not entirely a spherical one. It's not entirely a spherical column. We can control it with this though. Okay, if you change also the contrast, you're going to get a bit of interpolation. You're going to vanish the interpolation. This also looks just fine, I believe. Depends on what you need to do or what you want to do in the end. Just keep in mind now that I saw that there is some stuff over here, but it just looks, on the final one, it just looks like it's destroyed, like the column has has damage on it or something like that. Yeah, I'm actually happy with this, so let's keep it like this. We're going to blur everything else after that, because there is, if you can notice over here, there is gradation. Now for the blur, it's not going to get rid of it, but it's going to make it a little bit smoother. And then again, we're going to add slow blur grayscale on top of this, so we're pushing away the pixels, so it gets even more from the ground. We're pushing the values. And yeah, this was a little bit of microsurface. I found a better way to do it, so we're going to delete that. And we're going to place them and eyeball it basically to where we want them to be. We're going to use transformation 2D, mirror horizontally, and blend them again together, and we have our 2 columns. We're going to create a mask for these columns, so we're going to invert the grayscale, fix it with the level node, and we can even go the other way or go lower and go higher. Let's go the opposite. Okay, this will also get rid of the black lines we have on the center, and this is actually not that bad. Okay, if you do not want to have it this way, then do it the other way, obviously. Like if you wanted the lights, I think this one is also looks pretty nice, so we're going to keep it like that. Okay, and we're multiplying this with this, as you can see, so we pretty much get all our pattern, except we also get two black lines for where the columns are supposed to go, and then we're going to simply add them with height blend and height offset. So depending on the height offset, we're going to be have a height variation on the columns. Okay, simple as that. The next thing is the column ends, which is this stuff. I don't know how to call them. We're just going to call them column ends. We start with a shape, just a disk, transformation 2D, and I'm going to bring it on the edges. Now you can be a little bit more careful and keep it like that, so we get this chipping on the edges. So we're going to blend it again with our color we have over here and our middle color, and you can see that in the black we pretty much get the design we want, so we're just going to invert it. I like the gradation that it has over here because it looks like it's going downwards inside the towards the column, you know, it gets a little bit more interesting to look at. And we're also going to add a little bit more gradation this way, so we're going to have a gradient linear 1, histogram scan, okay, position, depending on the position we have, is going to change the gradation. We pretty much want the app design to be almost white and start gradation around this level. Again, with blend, we're going to blend it with multiply. It's very, very subtle. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but in over here, but you can definitely see it over here. Again, with levels, we're going to fix it a little bit, and now we're going to try and give it a little bit of this gradation. So what I did is gradient linear 2, slow blur grayscale with blur on itself, with raised intensity, so we get more flat over here, and on the edges we get the gradation. Blend them with multiply. With transformation to D, we pretty much eyeball it again to go and sit over the columns. Then with the safe transform grayscale, or you want to add transformation to D again, doesn't matter, you can do it either way. And with safe transform grayscale, you can simply go and do a symmetry on the X. Okay, and we blend together again with max lighting. With levels node, we're going to fix them again, and here's where the design actually appears, that we have the flat area is over here and everything else is a gradation. Over here, yeah, this is now a problem, but it actually doesn't look that bad, to be honest. Like, yeah, from far away it just looks like the column end has broken or there is damages. Again, we have our design, we have our height offset. If we change this, then we get rid of the problem also, and it's going to control how far away the height is, or this separation is. Okay, let's lower it a little bit so it doesn't look that ugly. This might be a little bit too much also, so let's lower it. Let's try and bring it along this edge, almost along this edge. Yeah, now we start to get the other artifact, so let's set it like this. And if there's a lot of problems, then we can always bring out the columns instead of this one. Okay, it's, as I said, it really depends on what you want to do or what the end substance is you want to do. I'm just doing the substances to explain basically the nodes and how they can be applied. Because yeah, I'm saying the gradient linear node, you know, makes a gradient, yeah, big deal. So what? How do you use it? Where do you use it? And all that. Okay, so that's what I'm basically doing. I'm explaining the nodes on a case by case. So uniform color, okay, again we're going to create the bottom, although since we have one uniform color already, we can simply just do this like this, and we can also do this and get rid of this. Okay, and we are at the bottom, and you know, oops, if we lower this up, this has tiling mode only on horizontal, so it won't matter where I place it, it will always tile. But you can see that we get a whole different design depending on where we place this. Okay, and it doesn't look that bad actually. You can make an infinite amount of stuff, and because we have all this nice microsurface, we always get an interesting design basically. Oops. Yeah, do not rotate it, although you can actually rotate it, that like even this one, if it wasn't that crooked. Is this straight? Okay, imagine that you can get another design just like that, and something that looks completely different from what we already had. Like this. Let's bring it back where it was. I just wanted to have, instead of copying what we did on the previous video where we had the same stuff we had on the columns for above, we had so below, I just wanted to add something completely new on this one. There's also benefit that we get this nice, these nice darkened areas over here, so it looks like it's dirty, so the whole, maybe it's a temple or something like that. Okay, transformation degree, then bevel. So with the bevel node, we can add a custom curve, but there's no need since I only wanted the above one, the above gradation. So we have, we raise the distance, smoothing, play with the values we want over here. And finally, we are blending them with our previous pattern we have over here. And yeah, this is basically the height. So that means we can also output the height. Okay, there's no need to add a levels node unless you want to control everything together. To fix anything or any height separation and all that, you can simply go back and adjust each individual shape and add it on top of it, basically. Okay, and this works great for the shape. We're going to add a levels node just in case we want to add something over here or behind. I just add a levels node just as a shortcut. While we're here, also the metallic, obviously everything is black, so because nothing is metallic. Okay, so that's the metallic, and we have a normal big shapes, and we're going to output it into a normal node, only the big shapes, and we're going to work with our microsurface over here. Now, here's a nice trick for the microsurface. I'm going to add on this shape some very slight changes. You cannot see it. I don't believe you can see it in the video. There's like pixels, different colors and pixels. You can see it over here. The way I did it, I started with a Perlin noise zoom, then slow blur grayscale, my first shape, which is our height shape basically, and you can see that I went crazy with it. Samples, intensity, well, basically we get something that looks like this. Obviously this is way too much, so we cannot really use it anywhere. However, if we use a directional warp and in the intensity input we pass our height, you can also see that it starts getting the shape of our height basically. Okay, like you can distinctly see it because it goes and puts on the edges all this nice microsurface, all this little noise, and it kind of gives it the shape of our shape basically. I don't know if that's a word. And yeah, this is a little bit too low of resolution to show it, so yeah, we're going to see it in a bit because we might change something, so I want to keep the resolution. Now, because this is the first one, I was adding a little, just a slide of subtract, but you can go even higher with this. And actually it doesn't show, so let's raise it. Let's raise it to 2K. Now you can actually see it in the design. Obviously it's going to change how the final color is going to appear, but you can see the chipping away and the edges and all that, and you also get a little bit of more interesting design. Okay, I think it's a little bit too intense, so I'm going to set it something like it was 0.7. Okay, So after that, we're going to do the same with the fractals on base. Obviously this is way too uniformly to use, so we're going to use directional warp, intensity at 300, and again we're going to get the levels. So you can now actually see where it follows the shape basically. Okay, and this is perfect, I believe. So we can simply overlay it on top of our design, and we have nice microsurface on our bricks. I think for the bricks this work really good, really great. Okay, and basically this was just a random invention I just found, so obviously I reused it everywhere. Yeah, because that's the creative process. So we have fractals on base. Okay, we've added this little noise we have over here, these little changes. We have our fractals on base, so we are almost done. And now I want to add, chipping away and spots and all stuff like that. So I've used black and white spots 1, levels node to make it like this, to obviously make it something that we can work with. And then with a warp node, not a directional warp, just a warp node, although you can try with a directional warp too. Again, for the input, the gradient input, I used the levels node, and we get all this nice noise where it's going to look like it sits over our design. Obviously you can conform it a little bit or make it have less spots, and that's going to change entirely. Okay, we are adding it on top of our design with subtract. Depending on how much subtract you have, then the more noise you're going to have over your design. And now we're going to again add a few cracks. So for the cracks, cells 1, invert grayscale, slow blur grayscale, pale noise zoom. Levels node, so we are isolating the cracks, or basically we're just trying to see what we can get from this one. So we get all these nice lines, and with a directional warp. And this time I've used what I have on the bricks, because I was mainly concerned of adding them onto the bricks, although on the end I just ended up adding it everywhere, so we get also these nice these nice damages on our columns. So okay, instead of using the one we have on our height, where were we? We were over here. Okay, directional warp again, intensity 300, doesn't matter, you can just make sure that it's high enough to actually make a difference. And we're again adding it with subtract on top of our design. You can of course be more subtle like that, or however you want it to look. Okay, it's entirely up to you. The roughness is almost ready. Since everything is stone, it won't have that much high differentiation, so we're going to invert the grayscale. So if there is somewhere that it's more shinier, then that's going to be where it makes sense. So inside the cracks we do not want to shine. Then with level nodes we're going to adjust it and just output it at the roughness. Or if you want, you can keep working on the roughness and adding more stuff, but I think this one also works just fine, to be honest, especially since these are supposed to be dusty rocks on a dungeon or something, I don't know. So we have our microsurface ready. Then we are making it into a normal, and we're combining them with a normal shapes. We have everything on top of it, and then we are outputting onto the normal. From the normal we're going to get curvature and ambient occlusion, and we're going to also output the ambient occlusion. And now we're only left with the color. So for the color we're going to create a dirt color. Now you don't really have to assign this from anywhere, since you know there's only a few green places and everything else is pretty much the same. Or you can just simply use one of the noises. As you can see, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So the other thing that is going to make a difference also, yeah, that's why I had that way, because I wanted two different colors, although yeah, as I said, it doesn't make a difference. Okay, we have two dirt colors and we have the main color. For the main color, we're going to get the final one from the microsurface, and we're going to get this gradient. Whenever you say gradient like this, this just means go into a picture and drag from one edge to the other edge, and you're golden. You have something like this. You can of course try again, or if you're following with the video, then simply put the mouse over here, drag along over here, and you have pretty much sampled this gradient. And we get something that looks like this. Obviously is a little bit too rough. There's a lot of information that gets lost because there is a lot of gradation and a lot of striation on the edges. Okay, we lose a lot of stuff. So to fix that, we're going to create a dirt map from over here. As you can see, we use our curvature and ambient occlusion, and we're going to add the dirt color. We have one of the dirt colors. Okay, it doesn't matter, just add which one you like with copy, and voila, just like that we have started to separate, and we have basically, even this way it can work as a map. However, let's not stop here. And why stop here? We're going to go and get where we have our cracks, and we're going to use that as a mask, and we're going to get a color. I want to work a little bit with a color, so I've lowered the saturation so I get something more grayish, and we're going to add it wherever there is a crack. We're going to add a different color into our design. So as you can see, for the columns it just looks perfect. I believe this is a really pretty column. Okay, again, because why stop here, we're going to use edge damages, a map. Okay, it gets curvature and ambient occlusion. All these are already by default inside the Substance Designer, and if you are interested in how something is done, you can always open a reference, and you can learn a lot of stuff this way, trust me. If you are interested, if you know that you want to do something similar, then open a reference does wonders. Oops, and delete doesn't. So okay, we add edge damages on top of our design. Depending on the blending mode, you're going to get a whole different something is missing. You're going to get a whole different color. You want add linear dots or you want subtract. You can see that there is uses for everything. Let's keep it to add linear dots, and then we're going to add edge wear with subtract, so we get some darkening into the color, into our color. We're just mixing colors right now. Think of it like paintings, like watching Bob Ross. Okay, it just looks like it throws color in it, but yeah, in the end you get something. You get so much color information, even though you cannot distinguish it right away. If you look closely, you get to see where there's color and there's color. So happy little accidents. Okay, we have our color, and this one is where we get this dirt patch we have over here. You can see it over here, and that's why we're using with subtract. If we go with this, it's going to look way more dirty. But if we lower our opacity, you can see that it just fixes it really nice. And it's pretty sweet, I believe. Okay. Then finally, what this is, dirt, I see, gradient map, which it just makes it, yeah, this is just the white spots you see, because if you look at rocks, there is a lot of white spots. I don't know why there is a lot of white spots. So what I did is just a dirt 2, gradient map as it is, directional warp to shape it. Yeah, I'm using the same height as this, but you cannot really show it, but I think it works really nice for the columns. Again, everything about the columns. Okay, so we're using it without linear dose. If you go at 1, it just looks like it's snow or something that sits on top. However, if you lower it, it looks like and blends everything so nice together that it's really nice. And the final one, I'm getting the ambient occlusion exactly as it is. I'm inverting it, I'm running it through a gradient map, and I have it on top of my design. However, okay, I have subtract, so if I raise this, I'm going to get it like a more extreme ambient occlusion. I just added this final one to make it, you know, conform like it's the same, because there is a lot of height differentiation, a lot of different shapes, and I think this kind of, you know, baking a little bit the ambient occlusion. Usually in PBR you do not want ambient occlusion, because you are supposed to be getting the light information for, well, the PBR from the shader. Okay, but I think it works in some substances or in some cases like this, where you have a lot of high differentiations and you want to make sure your bricks are basically separated in every environment. So yeah, we just output it on the color and we're pretty much done. And as you've seen in the ArtStation post, if you haven't seen it, go see it. Just a color map just looks like a nice painting, I believe. And it's really pretty, because we have all these nice little colors, like especially look at these bricks. Okay, beautiful. The columns, again, those columns are just so perfect. So we pretty much covered everything. Obviously there's a lot of customizations you can do. This was a very simple substance and I really like it a lot. Of course, you can get rid of the columns and the arts and all that, and just use it as it is, as the brick, as a brick wall or something like that. So, you know what to do. Hit that like, check the description for more links and renders and all that. And if you like what we're doing and want to see more, then consider supporting me on Patreon. And I'll see you next time.